Welcome to the Happiness and Success After Illinois Tech podcast with the Illinois Tech alumni. We're so happy you're here, and we can't wait for you to be inspired from all these real-life stories of people that attended Illinois Tech, graduated, and found success. No matter your major, your background, or where you're from, success and happiness are possible, and here are the stories to prove it. Welcome to this episode, everyone. My guest this week is Liam Barrett. Welcome, Liam.
Hi, Jillian.
Nice to meet you. So I know that you played sports at Illinois Tech, so I'll let you tell everyone what you did at Illinois Tech, when you graduated, and what you majored in. Let's start with that.
Yeah, sure. So I came out to Chicago and Illinois Tech in 2009. I'm originally from England and the UK, which is where I'm at now. So I came out predominantly on a soccer scholarship, and obviously I studied business administration. So that was 2009 until 2013. And yeah, just I absolutely loved my time in Chicago. I'd say without doubt my favorite city in the world now. And I was fortunate enough, actually, in October, I came back for the first time in 10 years when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame for the athletics. So, yeah, it was great to kind of come back 10 years later and visibly see kind of the difference in the campus, new buildings, still a lot of familiar faces, which is great, and just catch up with the other alumni as well.
That's so cool. So how did you find Illinois Tech from all the way over there?
Yeah, no, it was a strange one, to be honest. Without boring you too much on my full background, was that growing up in the UK, it's hard not to be obsessed with soccer. It's almost a religion over here. And so I'd always wanted to be a professional soccer player. And I was at a professional club until the age of 19, but then had 4 knee operations. So kind of thought I might have to retire then. And it was either go to university in the UK like my sister did and get in a ton of debt, or somebody spoke to me about the opportunity of playing and studying in America, and it seemed like an unbelievable opportunity and experience at that age as well. And I'd say America does it better than anyone in the world in terms of college sports, and also just knowing the reputation of the schools. And when I heard that there was interest from Illinois Tech, to be honest, I was sold on it straight away, because Chicago's an amazing city. IIT's got an amazing academic reputation, and at the time the soccer team was super strong. There was an English coach, there was a lot of British players, so I felt like it would help me settle in. And yeah, it just ticked the boxes for me, really. So as soon as I heard that there was interest there, it was kind of sign me up and let's get started. So yeah, it was super exciting looking back.
That's so cool. Yeah, I've heard from other people in the UK about I know how popular soccer is, or football there in the UK, and I didn't realize. I talked to someone a couple of years ago, and he was saying like it's not just an obsession. It's like if you grow up and you want to play soccer, it's like you think that's the only thing you can do. That's the only thing you want to do, and how competitive it is, and how serious people take it to play it. It's like it's crazy. It's not. We have so many different sports here in the US, and there are people that are super fans about football or basketball or whatever, but usually typically people here have 1 or 2 or 3 that they follow, and it's just fun, and it's a pastime. There it's like you said, it's a religion. It's like it's insane how crazy it is over there. But I'm glad that you got to take your talents and come over here and then have a totally different experience. That's cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It was just at that age as well, it's just nice to kind of try new things, put yourself out of your comfort zone, meet new people. So yeah, for me it was the best decision I ever made, and yeah, absolutely love my 4 years.
That's awesome. So did you know you wanted, right when you got here, did you study business right away? Did you switch your major at all? Did you know that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I know obviously the school specialised in architecture and engineering, but I'd always been interested in business. And I think because my dad did like a master's in business as well. So I think there was just that inclination to go into that. And yeah, I run my own business now, so it worked out okay.
That's so cool. That's so smart. And then did you get an undergrad and do you have 2 degrees?
Yeah. No, well, I did my master's degree back in the UK, but I did my undergrad in the US. At the time, I was considering staying in the US. I think I was looking at actually becoming an assistant coach and doing my master's degree that way. And to be honest, I think I used to change my mind every single day. Am I staying? Am I going? Am I staying? Am I going? You know, who knows how things might have panned out if I'd have stayed, but yeah, did the masters over there. So just undergrad at IIT.
Okay. did you have internships while you were at Illinois Tech? What did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? There was a professor called 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗘𝗥, and yeah, he was great. He was a real character. He's not at the school anymore as a professor, but what was great with him is that he was very wanting us to get the hands-on real world experience of dealing with businesses. So there's another professor as well called 𝗣𝗢𝗟𝗘𝗚𝗘 as well, and a lot of the projects would be working with local businesses in Chicago, which is great. So it's not just all textbook based. You're having real life application. You learn this in class, and then here's an actual business, and we'd all get put into teams and work on different businesses. So there was a few. There was one that had like a medical device for helping people with back problems, but sports specific. So I found that really interesting. And they were all kind of sports specific ones that I did each summer. So what I like to do is take summer classes, stay in Chicago, because who wouldn't want to, and then do those internships around it. And yeah, for anyone listening who's starting at the school or thinking about possibly doing it, I wouldn't I can recommend that highly enough to do those internships, because it's all great learning things in the classroom, but you need to have that practical application of it as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know that stat now, but it is the number one thing employers look for when they're hiring new college grads. It's internships, because they'll say, the students will say, oh, they probably want experience. I'm like, well, of course they do, but they know that you're in college the whole time. So the only real way to get it is through an internship. So it is the number one thing. And I tell students, if you can get one, great. If you can get two, even better. But some are trying to get one. They're obsessed with getting several, and it's like, you really only need one. You need to have that experience, be out in the real world, and then take those skills back and say, I prove to them that you can do it. And that's why it's so important, because it's also building on all of those professional development, leadership skills that you don't get in regular curriculum in any degree. They're not really talked about. And so students don't know what they're lacking. They're like, they're super smart. They got a great education. It's like, but you've never been at an office. You couldn't possibly know. And you're not supposed to. You've been in college the whole time. But it really is important for them. And it's a great way for them to stand out. So is it possible to get a job without an internship? Sure. You're going to be more likely to get your foot in the door with an internship. So it's great. It's great advice.
Yeah, I was going to say to add to that as well, like one thing that's great about Illinois Tech is with the iPro as well, because then you're able to work with other majors, again, with real life initiatives or businesses. So we worked with the Chicago Blind organization, which was super rewarding, but also there was a practical, tangible outcome as well. So yeah, I think that's a huge value as well that the school can offer you.
Yeah, so iPro, I don't know when you were here if it was required, but it's required. It's required.
Yeah, it was a requirement. Yeah, it was a requirement. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I couldn't agree more. It's like you get to collaborate with other people from other majors, right? And on a business problem, and you just learn skills you wouldn't be able to learn just in the one class, whether it's accounting or finance or whatever you're sitting in at the time. So it's great experience. I'm really glad it's required, because it's there's no other way to get it. That kind of experience, unless you require it, and then you say, okay, we're going to do this, and here's what it's going to look like. So it's exciting, especially it's in the Kaplan building, which probably wasn't done when you were here. If you graduated in 2017, that was finished in 2019. It's a really cool building, but that's where all the iPro classes are now too. Did you see that when you came back?
I was 2013, so even longer ago. But yeah, I did see it when I came back. Yeah,
it's so cool. Okay, so let's talk about what you wanted to do when you graduated. Did you get a job right away? You said you went back to the UK and got your master's. Did you work and then get your master's? Or did you say, like, I want to get my master's because I'm going to do my own business, or you're going to get into business first? How did that work?
Yeah, as I said, like earlier, like, to be honest, I kept changing my mind. And throughout my college time when I was playing, I was doing fairly well. So I'd actually thought about potentially trying to make it pro again. So I was looking down that route. But again, in my last kind of year, I was having so many injuries that I knew that probably wasn't going to happen. And that's when I looked down the coaching route. And therefore, I did have a few offers to be an assistant coach and do my master's in the US. And then I said I would constantly change my mind. But for some reason, I decided to come back to the UK. I then got a job in marketing, which is obviously what my degree was in. And I was then doing my master's part-time outside of the work. So that was like 18 months. At that point, I'd already started my own business as well, again, doing it on the side. So the plan was always for me, well, get my master's degree while I'm working, which it was full on, but obviously meant that I had some money coming in, with the aim that I could then go full-time on my own business at the end of it. And unfortunately, that is how it played out.
Okay, that's cool. I want to focus on something you said. For some reason, you went back to the UK. So I tell the students, when they know what they want, they should trust their intuition. They're first of all, they're already very smart, but when they have an inkling about something or they're questioning something, it's usually because they know they're being drawn to it for a reason, and they should pay attention. And you said for some reason I went back to the UK. Of course, you know what those reasons are probably now looking at it, but you kept saying, I kept changing my mind. I also think that's important because it's going to happen a lot. And I think sometimes students will get they'll lose their confidence because they're unsure about something. They're changing your mind. I'm like, it's good. That just means you need a little bit more information. You know, you're not gonna always know the next right thing to do, but you should trust your gut. And if you do make a decision, it's the wrong one, you can make a different decision. You can keep changing your mind and making different decisions. You have to be committed to things, obviously, and your word's important, but it's normal to be unsure at your age when you're graduating college. It's normal to think you want something, experience it, and say, wait a minute, I was wrong. That's all normal stuff. It's all normal life stuff. But I think I just want you to kind of talk about, you say you went back to the UK. There was something drawing you there, and you could have stayed here and done well, and you could have went there. But what was the final thing that you said? You listened to something in your gut or your intuition, and you went back, and what was that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, to be fair, one factor would have been that I had a girlfriend the whole time I was in the US, in the UK.
Okay.
To be fair,
that's fair.
And then we broke up 2 months after I moved back. So,
oh no.
Yeah, anyone listening, maybe don't do that long distance relationships. But
that's also an important note. But maybe that was the thing that you needed to get you back there, and you were supposed to be back in the UK. She drew you back there, but then that was the reason you had to get in, and get back. But then once you get back,
I think everything happens for a reason, and I wouldn't say I regret my decision to move back. But one thing that the school's great at the moment, I'd have to say, well done to the athletics department, not only with the Hall of Fame keeping people involved, but also now we're having regular calls as alumni, connecting us with current athletes as well. And I think looking back, that probably would have been helpful for me, especially if I could have spoken to other internationals, whether they're student athletes or just students, those that have stayed in Chicago or stayed in the US, to maybe learn, well, how did that look like for you? How were you able to get success that way? Because I do remember at the time, I think I went down the route of looking as an assistant coach and doing my master's more to buy myself time, because I felt like I didn't really know how to go about getting sponsorship to stay in the country. So I felt like that was the option that I went through. So yeah, I think the way the school is looking to embrace the alumni and current student relationship is helpful for everybody. So I think looking back, that I would have probably benefited from that, because almost my default decision, or the easy one, probably was to come home, and therefore that's why I think I probably went for it looking back.
Okay, that's smart. And then if you had asked more questions or got a little bit more insight from some other international students, you may have said, oh, I didn't even know that was an option. So I tell students, you got to ask questions, go to the people that are doing what you want to do, or the ones you're meeting, whether you're in sports or not. There's other people in your classes that have been doing what you're doing. They might be a year or two ahead. Those are the ones to ask the questions about, and see how it's working out for them. And then just get a lot of information and then make the best decision. But if you only ask one side or one person, and that's the way you go, and you just disregard, even if it's not a professor and it's just other students, it's like there's a lot that's possible, and you're never going to know unless you ask questions, and you can just listen in. You don't have to make any decisions. You just have to get a lot of information, and then you can make a more informed decision.
Yeah, because I think the other thing is college. I mean, you might agree, but college life goes so quickly. It seems like yesterday, but I started, 15 years ago. Is that I think because you're so engrossed in kind of college life, and for me, obsessing about I need to get these good grades. I mean, I graduated with a 4.0, which is great, but actually in hindsight, who's gonna, I've never had a job interview where they're thinking, well, they got a 3.8 rather than a 4.0.
Yeah.
So I think particularly even in my last year, I'm obsessing about grades, and then obviously wanting to do well with soccer, but probably would have been beneficial to kind of take my head out of the parapet and think, well, what is my next step going to be when I do graduate? Especially looking into my last year, probably would have been helpful if I'd have thought more far ahead. In years kind of 1 to 3, I think if you're doing your internships and you're concentrating on your school, that's all good. But looking back, I think in the last year, I'd have maybe tried to give myself some time to really explore the options, then maybe I wouldn't have been, changing my mind constantly and not really knowing what I wanted to do with that.
It's good advice too, because it's like you said, you can get your head in the sand, especially if you're an athlete, because you're focused, you have practice, you have games in between, you have to study and classes and everything. And it's like, you're just head down because you need to do it. You're disciplined, you're focused. But then, yeah, if you're not picking your head up and looking around and contemplating and reflecting a little bit, you are going to make decisions based on, being in there and not see, the future. It's more short-sighted. It's understandable, but you said it goes fast. And all of a sudden it's like, here I am. Wait a minute. I forgot to ask this. My older son who graduated from Illinois Tech said the same thing. I wish I would have asked more questions and got to know people better earlier. For the same reasons that you're speaking about now, just to have more insight into things and seeing how other people did stuff. Yeah. So I was just going to ask you, like, what is there anything you wish you had known sooner? So you're kind of already answering that question. Or considering your education or career, would you have changed anything?
I don't think so, just because I love what I do now, and therefore I can't see how that would have played out any differently. And I think if I'd have stayed in the US, I'd probably be doing what I do now anyway. So I think, and the good thing with my business is I'm in the US frequently anyway. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. Like I'll be in the States for a month in September. So yeah, I feel like I'll always have an affinity with America, and therefore I'll always be able to come over and visit. And so yeah, I think it's worked out okay. But yeah, definitely looking back, I think in the last year, you've really got to kind of think about yourself and where you see yourself moving forward. I think I was definitely guilty of probably putting that to the side in my mind and thinking, okay, well, let's just concentrate on the now. But I think it probably would have been helpful to try and plan out. And the thing is, there is that advice and help for you, but I think you just get caught up in the day-to-day, really. So
yeah, that's great advice. What is the best advice you could offer a college student that's either looking for an internship or that first job out of college, whether it's business, engineering, architecture? Like, what would you say to them? Like, I need to get a job, or I need to get an internship. Or they're just like trying to figure out what their career path is going to be. What would you say to them?
yeah, I think follow your passion, because hopefully you're studying something that you're passionate and interested about, and not necessarily, which can be guilt, people can be guilty of following maybe the money and where they think they're going to make the most money. Because believe me, you won't want to do it for 40 years, regardless of how good the money is. So I think my advice to anyone coming out of college is take the job that you think will lead to the ultimate job that you want, as opposed to just maybe taking the job that you think will pay the best or is the most easiest. Because, like, for example, like with my company, I knew I wanted to do it, so I was fine for the first few years not making significant money on it, but therefore looking at other ways that I could fund my living by doing another full-time job that I knew I didn't want to do long term, so that I could then, my dream of running my own business could then become a reality. So I think when you're younger, maybe you don't have the responsibilities of a mortgage or children or other things, which you probably take for granted when you're older, and then you have those things. Is literally the world is your oyster, and therefore, figure out what you want to do, and therefore I don't, I believe anyone can then follow that dream and make it a reality. But I think the problem is you get pressure on you to, well, I need to get a job straight out of college, I need to start earning good money. It's like, I don't think long term that's going to bring you happiness. That's quite a deep answer there, but hopefully,
it's great advice.
If you love what you do, if you love what you do, then you never feel like you're working anyway.
Yeah, what's the quote? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Yeah. Obviously you have to pay the bills, and if you want to have a family, that looks different. But yeah, if you're just chasing the money. Now, if it's the money and you're passionate about it, that's awesome. And in the money, they say, do what you love, the money will follow. That's another great quote. But the bottom line is, if you just go after the money, like you said, it's going to get old really fast, especially if you hate what you're doing. Like and I'll even talk to students like, I majored in this because my family wanted me to, but I really want to do this. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to spend 4 years getting a degree in something you don't like, and then you're going to get a job in something you don't like. You're going to be miserable, not to mention unhealthy and unhappy, and all those other things that go along with it. But typically they're here because they're really good and they're passionate about the engineering or the STEM thing that they're working on. And I haven't really met very many that were not connected to the thing that they're studying, but they'll say, I really like this, but I don't see myself in a lab for the rest of my life, or I don't see myself in sitting at a desk. Okay, I want to be creating things or designing or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, that's just a different area of that same degree or program that you're in. There's just other possibilities, and they don't necessarily know what all of those are. That's why it's so important to connect with other fellow people in your program and other students and professors, just to say, like, what else is possible? Because there's a whole world out there, and there's people that are doing all different kinds of things. But if you only know one or two, you think you're stuck with that. It's like, that's not the case.
No, exactly. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, it's been so fun talking to you. Any last words of wisdom or anything you want to offer the students? And how can they tell them what you do now, and how, if they want to talk to you, or, just learn more about, your time at Illinois Tech and what's
sure. Yeah, so yeah, the experience was a life changer for me because now my company, US Sports Scholarships, we do place athletes at US based colleges and universities and Canadians. So yeah, in the last 11 years, we've placed over 1,200 athletes at over 700 different schools in the US. So yeah, like from me going and having that experience, the most rewarding thing is being able to help kind of like the next generation of college athletes. So yeah, super rewarding. So yeah, if anyone's listening and they are a student athlete, we do work with US based student athletes. We also work with transfers. So maybe there's someone listening, they want to transfer into Illinois Tech, or even anyone who's at Illinois Tech that then graduates and wants to come to the UK and maybe do a master's degree similar to what I did. We provide that support there. So yeah, I'll give it a plug, ussportsscholarships.com. Feel free to check it out. And yeah, we're still hoping to get the first student athlete to Illinois Tech as well. I'm working closely with Mark in the soccer team. So fingers crossed we can get our first one there. But yeah, last bit of advice, I think just really embrace your time at college, because I feel like I sound like a very old man now, but it does go so quickly. And I feel like you don't really realize how good you've got it. You know, you've got the freedom to learn as much as you want. You've got all the resources at your disposal, all super talented people around you. Take advantage of that, network with people, and then you're going to give yourself the foundation for the next stage of your life.
That's awesome advice. I love it. I love it. And then, so that's your website, and are you on LinkedIn too?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, and as I said, like we've been chatting with current students as well. So feel free to reach out to me, and if there's any advice I can give, I'll hopefully do so. And as I said, like following last year, I'll look to try and get on campus at least once a year. So hopefully can connect with you and other students and faculty as well.
Yeah, come say hi when you're on campus. I'd love to meet you in person. That's exciting.
We'll do for sure. All
right. Well, thanks, Liam. I know people are going to hear some of the stuff you had to say today and be inspired and just kind of I always picture them saying like, oh, I hadn't thought about that before. So I love it. It's so important. This is exactly why I'm doing it, to hear from people just like you that have already done it, or, are still doing it, already done it, and dreamed about doing it. So I just want them to see what's possible. And you're a great example of that. So thank you.
Yeah, no, that's great. Appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully speak to you soon, Julie.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Check out the Illinois Tech Connect platform. It's the official networking site for Illinois Tech alumni. It's operated by Illinois Institute of Technology Alumni Association with help from Career Services. The aim of the platform is to connect our entire alumni community to provide a space for communication, networking, and other opportunities. Also, join the Illinois Tech Career Services group on LinkedIn and learn about all things career related. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Finally, as an alum, whenever you need career guidance or advice, you're always welcome to connect to the Career Services Department, make an appointment with a career coach, and take advantage of this lifelong resource available to all alumni. We can't wait to help you, and more importantly, we can't wait to see what you do.